All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll move right into the agenda. According to my agenda, we have no presentations. Do you have any public comments? If you are going to make a public comment, please identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Megan Morgan Polisi.
Take one of each and pass them down, I guess.
We just have I have a clarifying question because I'm just not sure. On the consent agenda, item 6L5, there is for the MAUHS summer school positions, there's a general education teacher listed. And I'm just wondering what that means.
I don't know, Dave, can you help her?
I'm as surprised as she is. I have no idea. I don't know why it's not by department. I'm not sure.
6L.
6L5.
Just for clarity, Brooke is now a social studies teacher.
Yeah.
I don't know that
Then,
answers the
yeah,
question.
because then that would be two social studies teachers for summer school. I'm just,
Okay, we'll get back
Yeah.
to you. I don't have the answer.
I don't know
I'm
why
sure-
that's listed that way, but we can
I
find
don't know
out.
why it is, but
Okay.
we will get back to you.
Cool, thank
Is
you.
Do we have a way to?
Because my
contact you?
understanding, she is going to be a social studies teacher.
right,
Yeah.
so I was
Yeah.
just wondering.
Yeah.
Or
I don't
whether
believe
she's
we're
like-
reassigning her.
Whether she's like a sub or something.
Well,
Yeah.
is she confused about this or not?
I don't know.
Okay,
I just looked at the consent agenda.
we'll get back to you.
All right, cool, thank you.
Dave, can I ask you to
Sure, I can find out.
take that
Yep.
responsibility? Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, we can move on then. Who is going to do the high school, middle school start and ending times?
Tim Payne is going to do that.
Thank you. Oh. Good. Everybody have one over there? No, that's this.
There should be a handout available for every member, and if there's extras, we can make them available to the audience.
You can get any over here. Okay, you might want to give a few to the audience if there are some there, extras.
Nope.
That's not it. That's something else. There's a couple of his agendas.
2 days.
Tim, I'm sorry, is the pile there with you? Right here. Okay, thank you.
Dave, did you get one? I don't think it's being passed the superintendent.
One more. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
So I appreciate Mr. Colkeen making a space for me on the agenda. This is the second time at least the second time that I've spoke about this idea in front of this board. I just wanted to come back and give an update to the MAU board of this idea that next year that the middle school's school day would be starting at 8 a.m. instead of 7:30 a.m. The proposal is that this would start on August 29th, which is the first day of school. The school day at the middle school would be an 8 o'clock start and a 2:15 dismissal. The total hours of, the total time for students to be at the middle school would be exactly equal to that of the high school, which is 6 hours and 15 minutes. We have had a number of conversations with Mike Gardner at the Dufour Bus Company, and he has agreed that the company should be able to deliver students at the middle school starting at 7:30 a.m. Middle school teachers would be assigned duties, so there would be appropriate supervision for students who would be entering the building between 7:30 and 8. The middle school teacher's day, which is per the contract, would be the same as the high school with a start time of 7:30 and ending at 3 p.m. That's written in a narrative, and I broke it out for folks so you get a little quicker snapshot of it there as far as the schedule. I want to be really clear, there would be no change in the schedule for the elementary schools or the high schools, both for their pickup at the afternoon, but also for their delivery in the morning. With no change in the afternoon, there would obviously be no impact on athletics and after-school programs. There is an after-school program here at the middle school. We've had discussions with Tim Brown, the athletic director. We've talked to Maureen O'Neill at the Abbey Group. We've talked to Mike Gardner at the bus company many times, and I appreciate Mike's willingness to come and meet and talk to us about the logistics. And I've also talked to the Educators Association all through this process. And there's general agreement that this would be a benefit for our students, not only for their health as far as sleep, but also for academics. And so that's what we would like to be planning for at the start of the next school year is at 8 to 2:15.
Just a question.
Sure.
In terms of sleep, if I read this correctly, there'll be no difference in their pickup time.
The pickup times will move probably about 15 or 20 minutes.
So this,
Delivery right now.
there would be
at the
no
middle
change?
school-
Okay.
Sorry, the delivery at the middle school right now, students arrive anywhere from about 7:05 to 7:25.
But in terms of picking them up from their bus stop,
I believe Mike was saying that it would probably be moved somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes. But it would not move a half an hour. I want to be really clear about that.
And I just want to say that the superintendent is in agreement with this, and I was in meetings with the bus company also, and the comment will be if we move forward with this, then they will have to meet with Elaine and start going over our bus schedules to get exact times of what impact that's going to be.
very good. Does any board member, Dave?
Yeah, and again, I said last time, I think this is a great idea, and I commend you, Ms. Payne, for working on it. I don't know whether the board needs to approve it or not.
We're just informing the board.
Okay. I asked last time when you brought it up, I asked the high school principal whether there was had been any conversation. Maybe I didn't ask that, but I'm going to ask you now, Mr. Perrio. I mean, I think that whatever logic applies to trying to make, the day start a little bit later for middle school students would apply to high school students as well. I guess that the high school students will benefit because they'll be getting 15 extra minutes of sleep if the buses in fact arrive 15 minutes
Yeah,
later.
they're
in
going
the
to arrive
morning.
later, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is instead of going to the middle school first, buses go to the high school and then to the middle school. Okay.
Just, I know you asked that question somewhere, Ed did, and just for the public, because we're being recorded here, there was no conflict with the class scheduling and how students attend the Career Development Center. Is that correct?
No, we had meetings with Mike Lawler on that too, and he said it will not impact him.
And
As
that's
long
what
as
I
we
wanted.
don't change the high school start time, which we're not, then that'll be okay. So
That's
he
what I
was
wanted to
involved.
make sure that the public got that part too.
Good point.
With John, that there's no change there.
Are there any other questions on that? Well, thank you, Tim, for all your effort on this, and
Thank you.
I'm sure that
Appreciate the
students in
support.
both, everywhere will take advantage of that. And I just sleep and feel good for them.
I'm sure the parents will appreciate it too. An extra 15 minutes to get a kid out of the house and onto the bus is
We can
helpful.
We can move down then to the treasurer's report.
I have my wife email it to you.
Move approval?
Well, she'll get a chance.
okay.
No, I can't.
If it gets approved,
We
okay.
started the year with
Thank you.
$3,488,681. Total interest through the end of May was $62,635. We had miscellaneous receipts of $450,126. In the state of Vermont, $14,216,859. We had QZAP payment, which was the last year, of $90,381. The tax anticipation note was $3.8 million. Taxes from BSD were $7,474,110. North Bennington, $864,084. And Pownell, $1,455,593. Shasberry, $1,834,501. And Woodford, $337,598. The disbursements under warrants, SVSU, $7,873,172. Payroll warrants of $11,177,515. And vendor warrants of $5,078,190. And we had small bank fees of $384. So at the end of May, our cash balance was $9,944,508. I anticipate that
probably by the end of June, after we pay off the tax anticipation note and the lump payrolls and the last of the vendor warrants, we'll probably have about 3.4 million left in the bank.
Thank you. Need a motion to accept the treasurer?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or objections? We've got one more piece of business. Everybody know what the tax anticipation note is? Go ahead.
I put out 3 bids, we got 3 bids, and Peoples was the best. We're going to take out $3,900,000. The interest rate is 1.30%. The rate that we will get for our investments up to the borrowing of the note will be 1.55%, and anything over the borrowing will be 0.40%.
So the arbitrage isn't what it used to be.
It's not, no. So there are 3 places to sign, and I have those signed here.
Very good. If you'd just like to start with Leon over there, we'll bring him around.
Do we need a vote?
Yeah, we need a...
I move to accept. Second.
Any discussion? Everybody understand what this is? This is just money that we need to run the schools in anticipation of the money we get from the different districts. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good, we can move on then. Budget status report is in the packet. Consent agenda. Motion to accept.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any questions on the consent agenda? Frank, do you have something? You're wandering around.
Yes, I do. The status report. So here's the, at the last board meeting, you gave me the opportunity to put out bids for equipment up to $70,000 for MAU, for the high school primarily. Only one vendor needed, only one group of equipment needed to have an RFP on it. And I didn't get the final bids until 2 o'clock this afternoon. So I do have an RFP for that one large amount, and then there are other amounts too. And I don't know if you needed to approve this, or if I can just go forward with it because you had already approved the money.
I think it's always best to we'll just make a motion to pass it, just for the board's information. I think it's 15,000, isn't it, that you have
Yes,
to
it
get?
is. Yep.
Yeah, 15,000. Anything over 15,000, you have to get an RFP for.
Right.
And maybe what, Frank, would be beneficial, if you would can you just briefly go down where that money is being spent, so the board has an indication where it's going?
Yes. First of all, the vendor that's over $15,000 is for the Chromebooks. And the cost for the number got adjusted to 200 Chromebooks and licenses and carts. And the lowest bid on that was $46,100. Okay? The other money that's being spent is, and this was by request of the high school to address some other places where they needed to fill some gaps. One is for some iPads for the art department, and that is about $5,766. One is for computers for the music department, and that is $14,444, just under. And then an iPad cart, which is less than $500. And then the only other thing is I would like the permission to use what's remaining for software for the Chromebooks, software called Guardian, which allows teachers to see the screens of their students' computers at any time, and it also allows us to remotely lock them down if they go missing, that kind of a thing. So I don't have a solid figure on that, but.
Well, I certainly think, and it also sounds like you've been back to the staff to get their input on where the
Absolutely.
money could be best spent. Does anybody have any questions on the disbursement of those 70,000?
Frank, do you need a motion for the RFP, to accept the RFP?
Yes, that's.
I presume, do you need a copy of it, or do you want me to just?
Why don't you just give it, and we'll get it back to the business office. But we need a motion to accept
So move.
the expenditures as outlined.
Funds are coming from what account, Paul?
Well,
Yeah, the funds are coming from
Well,
one of the
combination of things.
Right.
Fuel or wood chip.
Right.
Fuel or wood chip account.
It is money coming out of the operating budget for this fiscal year.
Yeah.
That's the way to say
Right.
it.
Let's just put it that way. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Did we get a second? Richard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Once again, Frank, thank you very much. If you would just give it to Jim, I guess would be the appropriate person. He can get it back to the business office.
Why don't you give it to Richard first so he can make sure it's in the minutes?
I have one question too. This concerns FY17 as far as, I know the board's going to be on break pretty much for the summer, but would you or the vice chair be able to sign off on
Yes.
some equipment that we need to order
Right,
to
we're
have it in
gonna
time?
ask for,
Further on the agenda.
it's further on the agenda that we're gonna ask for
Jim,
signing
I
privilege.
think
Oh,
that's
great,
yours.
okay.
So we'll be able to do that.
Thank you
Either
very
Fran, myself, you don't have any problem. Okay, let me see, I've lost my place here. Any other concerns with the consent agenda?
Paul, do you have something at this point? Under finance?
Paul Dancer, Director of Facilities. Actually, my question was, or what I was going to provide to Tim, you just answered with the signing authorities for July. What I have upcoming is the middle school project for to upgrade all the security cameras that was budgeted into the FY17 budget. I have an RFP that is still in draft stage. I'm working with Chris Aiken at the IT department here. We should be able to have that ready to be put out in public announcement later this week.
That's great.
By Friday.
The
With-
plan-
With the project start sometime in July.
Good, will it be completed by the end of the, before school begins?
That's what we were asking for, and I'll
Good,
get back to you.
and the roof things, did we sign those? Are those all signed and ready to go or not?
I'm sorry, say again?
The roof projects?
That was set already.
Okay, so that's all. I assume that the board will approve those things, and either Fran or I will be in a position to sign them.
Thank you.
Comfortable?
Tim? Could I ask Paul a
Yeah,
question?
sure. Yeah, sorry.
Paul, I was in the gym today with the girls' basketball team, and there were 2 floor fans running all the time. Is that because we might have bad air like I read about in Shaftesbury?
No, no, and believe it or not, Earl, what we do have is, we do have the air handler units. I do have actual, I can tell you at any given time what the CO2 is in the gymnasium. But the fans are running primarily just to circulate the air overall, because we don't have air conditioning during the summertime. We keep that running to also keep down humidity, keep the air moving through. But it's not because of the specific.
Because I noticed,
CO2.
you know, the vents up there, and they have little pieces of plastic. Well, one of the pieces of plastic was blowing. The others were
That's
just
just part of
hanging
the
there.
normal air handler unit. So
Okay,
what it's doing is
so-
cycling fresh air from the
You ju-
outside.
As long as you're telling me it's good air in the gym, I'm fine.
Okay.
Dave, did you have another question for either Paul or Jim?
You suggest that I ask that at a
Yeah,
later
okay.
date.
Either one of the two, that would
Yep.
be good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Anything else? Any other, yes. Are there any other questions, concerns with the consent agenda then? All those in favor of accepting it signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good. We can move on then to policies. Leon, how do you want to do this?
You want to point that way?
Excuse me?
I think he's saying that I'm supposed to start on this.
Yes, you are.
And Leon can clean up my mess. We're supposed to adopt 3 of them and warn 1 of them. I'm sure you have got it all on your computers, and the fundraising one, that looked pretty straightforward to me. The visit to schools, I've got a question on that one, because it says 3, visits by community members and school board members may obtain permission to visit the school while it is in session from the principal or his or her designee. So that means signing in is not enough. Is that the way, do I read that correctly?
That signing in is not enough?
Yeah, it says I should talk to the principal and,
Well, you sign in and say where you're supposed to go based on that, but you still, if there's something going on, you may not be able to go to something that may be going on. I don't know that anything that would happen, but something could be
It just
percentage
sounds-
that would disallow a person to be in a particular area or something along that line. That's what that sounds.
I thought signing in would be enough, but this looks like an extra step. That's the way I'm reading it. You don't see it that way.
Okay.
All right. The optimum class size, that's the one with all the lines through it here and the adds and deletes. If I read that correctly, because at the policy meeting, I think I made the comment, I'm used to keeping score and seeing numbers, and there's no numbers here. If I read this correctly, it says the minimum class size is up to the principal and superintendent's discretion. If I got that right, Leon?
Within the guidelines of the particular school references in there, yes. They'll
Okay.
be looking at that. And that particular, I mean, you're commenting on all of them. Are you going to pass them all, want them all at one time, or you want one at one time? Because they may,
Let's do them one at a
do it
time.
one at
Okay.
a time so everybody can get.
I move to approve the fundraising.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
Opposed.
I move to approve the visit to the schools.
Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're now on the class size.
I was abstaining on that one.
Oppositions
Or extension.
or abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Okay.
Okay, now we're back to class.
I thought that we were going to come up with a policy that specified an optimum class size and gave numbers, and I don't see that.
Those things, I mean, you want to speak first?
Go ahead.
Those things are, the regulations speak to numbers on both ends. If you read the policy there, it refer you to use those regulations. But the board committee felt that putting a number in there is what the public, everybody was looking at, like that class minimum of 10, was a problematic type of number that people looked at and said, they had issues with. The numbers, because of the personal learning plan and other issues, were worded such that the principal and the superintendent will be looking at classes size in accordance with the regulations on the maximum and minimum side to make sure that they meet those requirements based on the guidelines, and that they are responsible for bringing that information back to the board if, for instance, you had social study classes that were running high numbers and you were packing them in at capacity in the room. We wouldn't want that to happen. You'll need to have another teacher or another course set up to do that. By the same token, if you constantly have a class that's running low and the numbers are not there and it's dropping off because the interest is not there, the principal and the superintendent still should be looking at that and coming back to the board. I mean, if you want to make that up and says, oh, we need to change something here. And that's what that's all about. That's what that policy is speaking to there and making it clear. But in the administrative regs, there will be numbers because that's what the principal and the superintendent will be coming up with.
But the administrative regs are not here, right?
Because they're going to be the ones to do that, decide when they figure up what they needed to have. Like when you come to the middle school, you're saying, well, I want to have so many kids in a house. And if you exceed that number, we need to be looking at another house somewhere. If we drop so low, we need to look at something else, along that line. But they would be the ones speaking to that, and it speaks to those in their rig.
One of the things that should be noted is there is state requirements. So they have to be referred to no matter what.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah, just so the public knows, there is state requirements. If you don't see a number there, the state actually does have to know.
And that's what's in the administrative, they reference administrative regs, so that you can use those.
So can we just summarize it by saying that the responsibility for determining class size will be that of the principal of the individual school and the superintendent?
That's correct.
pretty much sums it.
Okay, are there any other comments? Yes, Dave?
So is there a role still for the board? I'm going to ask you, Leon, is there still a role for this board, for example, in setting those upper and lower numbers? And I guess that the policy that we're revising here, the language in the policy that we're deleting had a number in it, 10, that was not enforced. It wasn't realistic or reasonable, perhaps. So it makes sense to say, let's not have that number. And maybe it makes sense to say, let's not have any number here in the policy, but by kicking it to the building level, does the board still have a role? Is that the idea? Is that the intent?
Does the board still, the administrators will have the responsibility to say what it is that fits that category per house or whatever out here in terms of number of students along that line. Remember, the regulations in there are going to speak to the fact that if I'm in science and I got lab, I can only have 10 or 15 kids in that class. Or if I got a special learning class based on the personal learning, that we have to set something up. The administrator, building administrator, and the superintendent need to be, we got a whole bunch of these out here that we having to do this on, and be able to say that to the board, because twice a year, I think the way Glenda explained it, when it comes time to budget and setting the numbers and so forth along there for classes, she'll be able to tell you that we got these types of things out here, and those are to be spoken to pretty much in administrative regs, so the public will know what it is that we're trying to do, that we're actually doing versus what the policy says.
Dave, do we have had in the past a sheet that usually is passed out that would indicate the number of students per class?
That was in the old policy, yeah. And I think what Leon's saying too is that because we're all on new ground with this, with the flexible pathways, that we
Right.
thought putting numbers there might be unrealistic till we know what we're doing.
I see.
Since the whole state is experimenting with this, and we don't know how that's going to look. If you have 3 kids that are interning someplace, how does that look compared to a classroom? So I think that was my impression as to why we were treading on the side of caution with giving a number that we were going to be held to.
Sure. But still, the board will be informed along the way, or at
Yes.
least figures will be available to
Yes,
the board
yeah.
to show us how many kids are in classes.
That's my
That's right.
understanding.
Okay, good. Nelson, you had a question? or
That
comment?
was going to be my statement, because I was there when they were discussing this. The board is still involved with the principals when those class sizes are set.
Right, so that's very good.
Yeah.
Anything else, Nelson, or do you want to? Okay. Any other questions on that particular one? Dave, do you want to ask for a vote?
Thank you.
I move to approve, or warn that optimum class size.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions are opposed? See none. And the last one is,
Policy 5185.
that is what?
Anaphylaxis?
Yes.
What is that?
Somehow that got lost with the nurses. Well, I shouldn't say that out here. Somehow that fell through the cracks. There's nothing wrong with the policy, but it had went through and was reviewed, and somebody had a question and wanted to run it by the support system from the medical profession area, and it got lost in the process. And we were doing a review and says, why is this out here? And nobody knew why it didn't continue on around. So it's not a problem for that particular policy.
Well, just, Dave, can you?
It
tell
touches
me?
all the bases here. It
Okay.
explains it.
Explain
Yeah,
a little bit what it is, just as.
I can hardly pronounce it.
It's called
I'll let
administering,
you read it. Like I say, it
but
looks pretty
it's
good
an
to me.
administering
And medicine to the kids. and other
medicine for the
stuff.
kids, right? Isn't that the gist of it? The proper,
Yes.
like I say, that's, I think that's all that's got to be said about it, so people know that it's basically giving teachers the ability, once they've been shown and been told by the parents and so forth.
Has this been reviewed by other people?
This is warning. I think it's, oh, no,
No.
this has been going around the doctor.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
right. Yes.
you know, by the nurses at the school, the staff, and
That's,
everything else.
yes.
Because it took so long, right?
Yeah, so everybody.
Do we,
Yes, Ed.
do we have any mechanism in place that if parents report to the nurse that a student has this particular sensitivity, that that's relayed to the teachers that are involved with that student so that they're aware of it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all,
I move to adopt.
have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions or noes? Okay, we can move on there. Dave, is there anything else in the policy that you want to bring
No.
forward? Bring on, how about you? Anything?
No,
All right,
We're
we can move on
continuing
then. We have student representative, we don't have one here. Superintendent's report,
Do you want to do the administrator's report?
the administrator's report.
Number 7.
Principal.
Seven.
representative. I'll go first. but I didn't-
I can take.
Okay, go ahead.
It's up to you.
Go ahead.
Just want to say a quick thank you for eighth grade celebration. An unusually early day for that, but last Thursday we had eighth graders and their families join us on a blustery afternoon. I want to thank the superintendent for coming out and the school board members, including the chair, for visiting us. We had a nice evening. I think it was a good celebration. Just some very quick thank yous to our support staff, Sarah Hollister, the custodians, and our music department did a nice job of setting up a nice event. I would be remiss if I did not also thank Mary Drew and the parent group that helped organize the dance and the food and the celebration after. They did a very nice job. On Monday, part of our activities was having our middle school luncheon for staff, and just recognize in front of the board that we had 3 faculty retire this year. Wayne Bell, Brendan Coogan, 16 years apiece in the building, Peg Wilson, I won't mention the number because she gets irritated when I say that, but a longtime special ed teacher in the building, so we appreciate that. And also recognizing that Ken Turn, a long-time serving health teacher, will be moving over to the high school. So lucky for the high school, and we're telling kids right now who are upset about him leaving that they'll see him short enough as they go to the high school.
Tim,
Thank
are
you.
there any vacancies in your staff for next year that still need to be filled?
Good question. Right now, I have I need to fill a sustainability teacher position, and I have an anticipated English position in the 7th and 8th grade.
Shouldn't be hard to fill that one.
I'm not going to say that out loud, but I'm hoping that we're successful rather quickly to fill that position. Absolutely.
Good, well, good luck. And one last question is, when does this ceramic program begin in the summer?
For the Mosaic after-school program,
Mosaic,
that's
yeah.
fine. July 5th, that Monday, that's when the summer programming will be starting.
Okay, and I'm looking for a little publicity for, how do kids sign up for it, parents sign up for it?
Excellent question. So we have, the director is in the building, so you can always call in, and if you have specific questions about programming, flyers are available in the front office for folks to pick up as well.
Very good, and they should just ask for Chris McGuire, or,
Nope, Krista Speroni, she is the interim director.
so just tell them what they would call in and ask to join.
Call in and say, I'd like a Mosaic program, and we will connect them. And thank you for the plug, Tim. It's 4 weeks of programming, so it starts July 5th. There are 4 one-week sessions, a variety of things for kids, academic, arts, sports, all good stuff. It's $20 a week. You'd be hard-pressed to beat that fee for a weekly summer camp. It's a full morning. We offer breakfast and lunch in addition to that.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Dave, yes.
And that's available to who? Just,
Any rising 6th, 7th grader would be invited.
okay.
But they don't necessarily have to attend the Mount Anthony system, or
No.
the school system, they can go to Sacred Heart or some other
Absolutely.
place.
We have students from independent schools and surrounding schools joining us all the time.
Right.
Homeschoolers as well.
Super.
Dave?
We're very proud of our champion lacrosse team. We want to thank them, the players and the coaches, also our softball team that went right down to the wire and played very well, and their players and coaches. Also, we had a very successful after-graduation party. We're glad that we offer that every year, and we had some hardworking parents that started meeting in the fall. They met monthly and then bi-monthly towards the springtime, and it was a very well-attended party, keeping kids off the streets and safe after graduation. So a lot of great activities. And we wanted to thank Christina Gabris and Beth Becker for the awards night and graduation that they did, and Paul Dancer and his team for all the excellent work they did at graduation and helping us out.
It went very, very smoothly, and
I think so.
Kids were well behaved. There was
I think they were exceptionally well behaved,
And
yes.
you did a very good job in ordering the weather.
Well, we'll try that again.
Any questions of Dave? Okay, then we can move on.
For coming, Dave.
Oh, thanks.
All right. Chair's report, I really have nothing. I'd like to ask the board to give either Fran or myself permission to sign any documents that are appropriate. When we do, we will certainly notify the board as to what we have been signing. Okay, thank you. You have a second?
Okay.
Any discussion?
Could we make sure that that does include signing contracts of staff, because as they're gonna,
Yeah.
we don't want to wait to the August, so that is understood that you could
Yes, yes,
sign
that'd
that
be
too.
any
Thank you.
appropriate place where signatures are required. Either Fran or I will.
We don't want to
will
lose
get-
anyone because they have to wait to August to get
Right,
confirmation.
definitely. Definitely get those out as soon as we can. Okay, do we have a motion on that? Yes, yes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good.
Do you want the superintendent's report now?
Oh, geez.
You are moving right
MAU
along
committee
here.
report?
You want to get home?
I do.
Are the Sox playing? Is it-
You
Okay.
might be good, but you're not that good.
All right. First, I also want to talk about the high school graduation and eighth grade celebration. Attended them both. I enjoyed them. Tim, what is the name of that band that I enjoyed so much? That
Oh, Motor Shark.
Motor Shark. Outstanding job. I enjoyed it. I had fun. High school graduation, again, the chorus always
Yeah.
amazes me.
Did a great
with
job.
Their job. And the high school band to continuously play the entrance march over and over. Great job there. To the seniors, I wanted to say, they lost probably one of the greatest benefits of being a senior, and that's they don't normally have to make up snow days. And for the first year that I ever remember in a long, there were no snow days.
Yeah, historic.
And so the seniors were deprived of that benefit, but I don't think on that night it really bothered them. And I don't recall when the last day of school and graduation were the same day. And so the added stress that put on the high school, thank you to all administrators and staff and administrative support because we were doing two things at once, or probably more than two things at once. And Paul, for you and your crew to set up back-to-back events. It was great weather, pretty windy I kept waiting for that curtain to go, but it didn't. So thank you to everybody, because I know that it's great to get out early, but it put a lot of stress on everyone to get it done. But it seemed to go off well, so thank you. I won't announce who, but the screening committee of the SVSU has selected a candidate for the Director of Finance and Operations. We'll announce that name when we complete negotiations with them, and hopefully at the SU meeting next week we'll be able to announce who that is, but you should know that we hope to have Director of Finance and Operations on board for July 1. Number of days. I already mentioned to make sure that the signing authority includes contracts. Thank you for doing that. SVSU Act 46 Study Committee will be meeting July 6th. That is one committee that will be meeting. We are still looking for community members from Pownell and Woodford. So if you know anybody that that lives in Pownell or Woodford who might be able to beat the bushes for us to find a community member who would like to serve on that meeting, they can go on to the SVSU website and fill out the application and send it to me. And if you need us to print out it and mail it to somebody or go to their house and have them fill it out, just let me know, all right? But we really would like to have full representation for that. There was a request to have the first day of school, I don't know if some, to be for ninth graders only. And I've given a lot of thought to this, and it has a lot of merit, but I think the request is a little too late. We have a regional calendar that we have to set, that we set what the first day of school is, and I think it was Leon who asked, you know, if flipping the middle school to high school would affect the CDC, and the answer was no. I think that this would affect them because they have students arriving from Arlington and Manchester and other towns on that first day, and if they don't have MAU students. So I think I'm going to have to rule that I can't support doing a ninth grade only day. That was the request. It's a great idea. I just think we're going to have to wait another year to do it because the calendar is set. So I know Dave's probably hearing that for the first time, but
Well, yeah, a lot of things I hear for the first time.
yeah. So that's my thought on that. We are planning professional learning for the administrators this summer. The board should know that we're doing that. Your MAU administrators will be participating August 3rd and 4th. August 3rd, we'll all be joining the Vermont Principals Association up in Killington for their workshop that day, and then on August 4th, we will be at a site with all our administrators, and we're also going to invite the administrators from the CDC to participate with us. Topics that day will be, the morning sessions will be with the SVSU attorneys for legal matters for educators and employee-to-employee relations. Those are the topics that we're working on, and then the afternoon will be on reporting issues, all kinds of reminders that we want our administrators to have on that. So that agenda is still being fleshed out, but that'll be August 3rd and 4th, professional learning for our administrators. And that's all I have other than, Tim, this is for you. These are the administrators' contracts
Okay, I'm
that
gonna
we
come
need signed.
tomorrow.
Well, you can, they're all right there.
Okay.
So, okay, and that's it for the superintendent's report, but I think you also have Ed committee report. We skipped that too.
Oh, Dave, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Well, we were all there, I think, so at least the board members, I think we're all at the Ed committee. We discussed graduation requirements, so just a preliminary discussion looking at whether they need to be revised. So that will be an ongoing discussion. Well, we'll pick it up again when we meet again. We also had a brief conversation about the process that we, as a board, use when we have nominations that come before us as they regularly do, and whether we need to be questioning budgetary impact and so forth at that point. And no action was taken on either of those points. We have discussed trying to find a regular meeting time for the Ed committee to meet, and so that it's consistent for members of the public to attend, for the board to attend. We are still waiting to get some input from interested parties, but by default, I think we'll plan to meet again before the next board meeting, which won't be in July. I think it's in August. So we'll plan to schedule an Ed committee meeting before that meeting, and the time I think will have to be contingent on whether there's an executive session scheduled before the regular board meeting, or in other words, depending on what time the regular board meeting is going to start.
Right. Well, we should have those out. That's one of the things on this other, but when we get there, we'll discuss that. Excuse me. Anything else?
No, that was it.
Any questions of anybody on that? Okay, and
Can I bring one clarification, just in case I said this wrong? The Act 46 committee meeting is July 12th. I don't know if I said that date right. I don't know if I said July 6th, I don't know what I said, but, what did I say, the 12th?
No, you said the 6th.
Said the 6th. So, in the world of technology, I received a message sitting here that I had said July 6th, and that I need to clarify that it is July 12th, so, apologize if I added the confusion to that. And thank you for the text.
And Jim, where's that meeting going to be and what time?
Most likely central office, and it's scheduled for 6 o'clock, and the consultant said we should plan on 2 hours. But we might see if we can move it to the assembly room at the CDC, because with the expanded committee, that conference room might be too small.
Jim, I have to ask, did anybody question you're calling it the study committee? Is that what it's called?
Act 46 advisory committees, the SVSU advisory committee, and we have been in contact with the state again today because of some questions on that. So they're going to be issuing us an advisory on that.
Anything else? Okay, we can move on to other. One of the things that we have traditionally done, if there is no particular reason to hold a board meeting in July, we cancel the board meeting in July with the understanding that if issues come up that the board needs to address, we will call an emergency meeting and take care of it. The meeting in August will be the third Wednesday of August. As David said, we'll get the agenda out to you as soon as we possibly can, and at that time we'll know whether we have an executive session or not, and we can schedule the education committee meeting if Dave feels that we should have one before the regular meeting. Any other? Yes, Dave, I knew there was something.
I'd suggest that we could send congratulatory letters to our softball and lacrosse people. If you approve that, I took the liberty of writing something, and Rob said he could actually read it. So is that acceptable that we send
Yes,
that?
we'll have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I appreciate that. Thank
Especially
you.
when two people have already agreed that it's good.
Second.
We have a motion.
I'm sorry.
We have a motion to send congratulatory letters to the team or the coaches, do we send?
To the coaches.
To the coaches of the girls lacrosse team and the girls softball team.
Why not a copy to all the teammates?
Excuse me, Ed?
That wouldn't be the
What'd you say?
Why don't we send a copy to all the team members?
Sure. If we can,
That
Get
would
the
be
addresses.
said in the, I mean, we haven't done that in the past. What
Yeah,
we've
ask the
done,
coach to please
we
share.
asked the coach to do that,
Okay.
take care of that.
yeah, that's good. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Dave, you have something else?
We are now doing exit interviews, and I think that's great, but what happens? Do they just go in a file cabinet, or do we take,
We got Ed McTurnan here, so maybe he can
Okay.
address that, because he's been doing the exit interviews. He's asking about exit interviews and what's going to happen to them.
Okay. 3 weeks ago, to everybody we had resignation letters from, we sent out an invitation to do an exit interview and form and a letter, form and a meeting. I've had about a half dozen interviews so far. What I do is I read them, I condense them down, and if I see a trend or problem, whatever, I will bring that back up to the superintendent, do a report it back out. At times, there's a lot of personal stuff that's going on that we may not want to report back out to anybody. But if there are any trends that are significant, then we will bring it back up and share it with you. Okay?
sounds good to me.
Well, I'm glad we've instituted that program and
Yeah, we have a new process. As soon as we get the resignation letter in now, we generate the exit interview invitation.
super. Yes,
I got one more.
good.
We talked about the position, I don't know what the term is, but publicizing some of the good things we do here. Will we be able to talk about instituting that, or?
Yes, and that will be on the agenda for, I think Kristen wrote me that we didn't have a stipend for that. Was it you? it was assigned duty. And I have not had an opportunity to speak to the administration about how they would like to handle that. I think it's an excellent idea, and we'll go through that. During that discussion, I think Nelson was the one that has suggested maybe we ought to have somebody from the SVSU that is sort of responsible for public relations, and that if we had somebody, for instance, from the high school that had something that wanted to publicize, he or she would get in touch with that person, and then they would do it. But all those things we can work on, and we will, for sure. It's a good point.
Yeah, my reasoning for making that statement is we basically have 6 districts. It would be nice if we had a central website or something where this information be put up and then also notified the press in some way so that we get the PR out, but at least then people can go to the website and see what's happening in all our schools. And I think that, it's something we should discuss at the SVSU and see where it goes. But rather than each district trying to hire somebody, it'd be a nightmare, so.
But we still have to have somebody in each district to report to them.
That's right.
So your suggestion is a good one, and we'll follow through with it. I'll try to have something ready by August. Okay, are there any other issues?
Dave Durfee.
Oh, Dave.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Ed regarding the exit interviews, a question. Just curious, you said we're inviting everyone, and how many people have taken you up on the offer?
There's 34 we sent out. So far, I've spoken to, or gotten questionnaires back from about a dozen of them. So I'm getting a pretty good turnout for a voluntary interview. I've spoken in person about 4 so far. We have more scheduled for this week.
Thank you.
And not everybody wants to come in. Just about everybody's doing the forms. So we'll links to the information.
Anybody else have any questions for Ed? Okay, are there any other issues for other? If not, public comments have already been asked for.
It's just a very quick question. Never mind, I'll tell you.
Okay. Are there, yes?
Sometime when we have a presentation, or maybe somebody can develop some information for the board, I'd like to know why we have so many students in special ed. And I don't understand the process that...
Right, we've had numerous meetings on that, and we certainly can have Wendy come in, and that would be something...
And give an
we could put on the
overview.
agenda. One thing before and I almost forgot this, which you hopefully wouldn't. I sent a notice to the board asking them to consider ideas that they feel are appropriate to bring up in the coming year, so that we can, start to work on, the administration can start to work on them over the summer. And what I'd like to do is just go around the board and ask them if they've had time to be able to come up with particular issues that they would like to see the board address in the coming year. So I'll start with you, Leon.
I've been telling you all along. Well, one that I wanted to actually see, in terms of, we talk about graduation rate, and we talk about kids being prepared. I would like to see some kind of way that we can make it more visible on a quarterly basis or annually basis within the schools, at least mainly, the high school, and it's kind of hard, maybe the middle school, is failure rates based on subject. That's a good way of looking at things. Are we doing what we need to be doing within the department? And what actions we need to take out there. The other thing that I had out there is the attendance. Mount Anthony is down to, I think, at 93% average of the year. But if you look at it, about 5% of the students all over the SVSU don't attend school. We're down 5% on an average, but Mount Anthony is pretty low in the middle school down there, and you look at pre-K and they're 100%. Something's wrong with that picture.
Parents want to get rid of the kids.
Okay, so those are things that we need to be, I think we need to start trying to make sure that the public get an idea of what it is that we're doing out there for those kids that are walking the street, that 5 or 6%, or what are they supposed to be doing? Because they shouldn't be absent unless there's something wrong with how we're recording those things. But all that information gets fed in from the teachers and then get fed into central office, and then it automatically comes out and generate a report. So, and I know they check it, so it's real, but action needs to be taken.
Ron?
I have nothing.
Nelson?
Well, I guess one of the things is us getting a better understanding from the community what they're looking for in the way of students when they graduate.
Good.
For job placements and things of that nature, I think is an important issue. So,
Fran?
more, but I'll look the rest.
Making sure we give our staff, administrators, the tools they need to be successful.
Good. Rob?
I can't really add to what we've already said, other than looking at aligning our resources to meet the district goals. I mean, I'd like to make sure that we're achieving the goals that we set and what's needed, what's necessary to move our students through the system.
That's a good. Dave?
I'll pass on.
Okay. Ted?
It's hard to amplify what others have said, but I think, based on comments I've received from students who have attended the CDC programs where they said they would like to take a second program and didn't have time in their schedule to accomplish that, I think we need to look into what is going on with the scheduling that prevented them from being involved in a second program if they wanted to. And I realize that we're talking about 120 minutes a day, and it could be double that if they were taking 2 programs, but there seems to be a disconnect somewhere, at least in their mind, in their scheduling, because they claim that they had the time, but it couldn't be scheduled in, and I don't understand why.
Very good. Dave?
I think that, and I'm speaking for myself here, I think that probably applies to other people too, but just having a better sense of the kinds of things that lead to the decisions we make in the at budgetary time, having a better sense well before we get to that point on things like enrollment and staffing, and being able to engage more and participate more in the discussion because we have a better feel for some of the things that we might not be, as close to. So.
Okay. Well, thank you all. And if I don't see you, have a very good summer. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed, gets shot.